Francis and Clare, Ignatius and Xavier, Felicitas and Perpetua. Some saints are remembered best because of their companions. The same could be said for John and Paul. Ian Leslie's new book explores the story of John Lennon and Paul McCartney, two exceptionally talented young men, and what unfolded when they met as teenagers. Their decades-long exchange of ideas eventually became the songs now embedded in our collective memory. Leslie offers an in-depth study of their relationship, which began when Paul was just 15 and ended 23 years later with John's tragic death. At its heart, theirs was first a friendship. John, the slightly older and cooler figure, brought Paul into his band. The two spent so much time together that they developed a private language of their own. George was there early on, and Ringo joined a bit later, but John and Paul's connection always stood apart. Sometimes, while performing or simply spending time together, they would gaze directly at one another. For John, this likely came from a longing for the closeness he lacked in childhood. A mother who was emotionally distant, and a father who was absent. Paul, too, had known loss, with his mother dying when he was 14, just before he met John. In one another, they discovered something irreplaceable. They were not merely friends. They were, in a sense, soulmates. Even after the Beatles' breakup, with John and Paul separated by an ocean, their bond seemed to persist. What Leslie compares to the way entangled particles circle one another. He points out, for instance, that John and Yoko Ono married in 1969, only 8 days after Paul and Linda Eastman wed. Leslie reflects on how society often struggles to describe deep male friendships. We readily understand men as close companions, fierce rivals, or both, and we also accept romantic relationships in a modern sense. What unsettles us, he argues, is a bond that is romantic yet not sexual. Something that may contain emotional or even physical intimacy but without being defined by sex. John and Paul were certainly friends and competitors as well. It is possible John even felt a kind of attraction to Paul. Yet their relationship transcended simple definitions. Their songs remain the truest evidence of its depth. Leslie analyzes 43 pieces from the Lennon and McCartney catalog. He begins with Come Go With Me, the tune Paul first heard John perform with the Quarrymen in 1957, and ends with Here Today, one of Paul's earliest songs written in John's memory. He alternates their works, moving from John's Strawberry Fields Forever to Paul's Penny Lane, two sides of the same 1967 single. He notes that both tracks reflect Liverpool through altered states of mind. John's piece exploring the unconscious, while Paul's lifts the listener skyward before bringing them back to the everyday world below. The discussion of Hey Jude goes further. Written by Paul for John's son Julian during his parents' divorce, it also served, Leslie suggests, as a message to John himself, one of the rare popular songs to capture the essence of a deep male friendship. Lines such as "You're waiting for someone to perform with" express the universal longing for the person who makes us feel fully alive. For Paul, that person was John. With Hey Jude, he found a way to reach out sincerely without falling into sentimentality, something both men always aimed for in their songwriting. There are lessons here even for evangelization, surprising though that may sound. John once claimed the Beatles were more popular than Jesus, and he famously imagined a world without religion. Yet, their music, honest and heartfelt, carried a kind of miraculous power. August 15th marks 60 years since their Shea Stadium concert in 1965, the pinnacle of Beatlemania. And, as Pope Francis observes in his encyclical Dilexit Nos, to accept Christ's friendship is an act of the heart, one that defines us as persons in the fullest way. Speaking from the heart, whether to another human being or to the Creator, follows a similar path. If John and Paul, through their creative partnership, demonstrated the true shape of friendship, they also revealed something of the nature of the divine. Despite their struggles, their relationship was fundamentally creative and life-giving. That, too, reflects the image of the Creator. Pope Francis, in Dilexit Nos, also writes that people often hide their true inner selves behind a thick layer of foliage, making it difficult to know ourselves and even harder to truly know others. But when two souls engage deeply, as Ignatius and Xavier did, or as John and Paul once did, we glimpse beyond that foliage. Such moments are rare today, and all the more precious. In 1978, 8 years after the Beatles disbanded, the Catholic Church welcomed first Pope John Paul I and then John Paul II. Their chosen names, honoring John XCI and Paul VI, marked the first time two papal names were joined together. For Catholics attuned to the Beatles, this pairing may also have carried an echo of Lennon and McCartney. Then as now, people often divide themselves into John fans or Paul fans, but perhaps it is fitting that their names continue to stand side by side.